Good morning. My name is Diane Smith. I'm a staff attorney with the Disability Rights Center. I'm here to talk about attorney's fees today. There are two ways one can get a lawyer to cover a special education matter. One can go to a nonprofit agency that has public funding, or one can go to a private attorney. I'm going to talk first about nonprofit agencies. There are several nonprofit agencies in the state of Maine that provide free legal services to families who have special ed problems to solve. Kids Legal, which is a part of Pine Tree Legal Assistance, is one place that you can go. I think they have some income requirements, so you might want to check about that. Your family may or may not be eligible depending on how much money you make. And then Disability Rights Center, where I work, is one of the federally funded protection advocacy agencies. We do not have income requirements for families, but we do have requirements about what types of cases we can take. So those would be a couple of low-cost or free options. Another option would be to go to a private attorney. Typically, if you go to a private attorney for a special ed matter, they will ask you for a retainer up front. And then, depending on what happens in the case, you may get the attorney's fees paid for by the district later on. I'm going to talk about how that happens. But if you go to use the complaint process, if you pay the private attorney to use the complaint process, you will not get reimbursed because the attorney fees, the fee shifting provisions of the IDA, which is the federal special ed law, do not address the complaint process, only if you go to due process. Now, if you and your private attorney file for a due process hearing and you settle, the other side will not pay your attorney's fees. You will pay your own attorney's fees. In addition, you will pay for any costs related to the settlement, including any experts that you might have used up until that point. If you continue on to the due process hearing, however, and you prevail, if you win on any of the issues, as long as there's substantial issues, the other side will be required by the court to pay some or all of your attorney's fees. And that can be very helpful. But you need to be aware that you have to upfront those attorney's fees until the hearing occurs, and you have to win. But if that happens, then the school district will pay for those fees. Now, in addition, there's something called costs, which sometimes are included in what the school district has to pay you, and sometimes they aren't. And so you should be aware that the costs of your experts and people's travel and other costs related to the due process hearing you may need to cover, certainly in the beginning. The State Department of Education will pay for the transcript fees, which means that the court reporter who attended the hearing will be paid for by the department. You don't have to pay for that, but there are other costs related to the due process hearing that you will need to pay for. When the law was reauthorized in 2004, meaning when it was amended, they added a particular piece that you should be aware of, and that is that if a due process hearing is brought or continued for an improper purpose, if it's frivolous in nature, or if it was brought to harass the school district, the court could require that the parent pay the school district's attorney's fees. Keep in mind that almost never happens, and it is a very high standard. The standard for frivolousness or harassment, it needs to be very high. So if you bring a case and you lose because you thought you might win and there was a reasonable question, you don't need to worry about that particular provision of the law. If you bring a case purposely, and it can be proven that you brought the case purposely to harass the other side, then perhaps you would be required to pay the other side's attorney's fees. But there would be a hearing on that, and that would be determined by the court. So just in summary, if you need a lawyer to handle a special education matter, you can try one of the nonprofit agencies that receive public funding, or you can go to a private lawyer. If you go to a private lawyer, they may ask you to pay for your case up front, and then you may be able to recoup some or all of the attorney's fees for that lawyer from the school district if you win, if you have gone to due process hearing. Thank you, and thanks for listening.